Welcome to Neon Primer GTM, hosted by Neon Aliens AI. We unpack the strategy and systems behind modern go-to-market, how companies move from idea to traction to scale.
Imagine you are running a regional airport. Your control tower is totally understaffed, your runways are completely backed up, and planes are just, circling for hours waiting to land.
Which is a terrifying thought, honestly.
Right, it's a complete nightmare. And the absolute worst thing you could do in that scenario is launch this massive advertising campaign to encourage more airlines to route their planes to your airport.
Yeah, because you definitely don't need more traffic. You just need to fix your air traffic control.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yet, in local service economies across the country, business owners are doing exactly that. They are staring at this huge operational bottleneck and trying to fix it by, blindly buying more top-of-funnel ads.
It's a phenomenal misallocation of capital, and I mean, it is happening everywhere.
So welcome to today's deep dive. We are so glad you are joining us. We're here to cut through all the noise, skip the overwhelm, and extract the real actionable insights from a really dense new report.
Yeah, the report is titled Go-to-Market Strategies for Dental Practices and Dental Organizations. And we are going to look at this whole marketing trap through the lens of a highly constrained, incredibly competitive microeconomy, the U.S. dental market.
Right, because our mission today isn't just to talk about teeth. We are dissecting local service economies. We want to show you why throwing money at quote-unquote more marketing is often the absolute worst thing a local business can do.
Yeah, the underlying mechanics of margin compression, lead capture, and these operational bottlenecks, they apply to almost any local business trying to scale right now.
Okay, let's unpack this because the initial data hook driving this analysis is just wild to me.
It really is.
So, according to the American Dental Association's Q1 2026 data, consumer dental spending is actually growing. It's a modest growth, sure, but demand is undeniably stable.
Right. People still need dentists.
Exactly. But despite that stable demand, one-third of dentists report they're actually not busy enough. And concurrently, the average new patient wait time has plummeted to just 12.4 days.
Yeah, and to understand why a 12-day wait time is creating such a panic, you have to look at the macroeconomic pressure cooker these clinics are operating inside.
Right. It's not happening in a vacuum.
Exactly. The market is facing a severe margin squeeze. I mean, your fixed and variable overhead costs are elevated across the board. You've got heavy equipment, specialized dental supplies, and critically, staffing.
Staffing. That's a huge one everywhere.
It's massive. There is a huge shortage of hygienists right now, which is driving labor costs way up. But while those operational costs are skyrocketing, insurance reimbursement rates are just stagnant.
So they're lagging far behind inflation.
Right. The profit per chair is literally shrinking.
Okay, so the cost to operate the clinic is at an all-time high, the insurance payouts are diluted by inflation, and 1 in 3 doctors is just staring at an empty chair while their wait times shrink.
Yeah, it's a terrifying position to be in.
I bet. So the panic response is to just flood the zone.
Yeah.
Buy more Google ads, run meta campaigns, send out thousands of direct mailers. Just get bodies in the door to cover that massive overhead.
Which is mathematically the quickest way to accelerate your own losses.
Right. It's like trying to pour more water into a bucket, but you don't realize the bottom of the bucket is completely rusted out.
That's a perfect analogy. The assumption is always that an empty chair means there is a lack of demand or a lack of leads.
But wait. If wait times are down to 12 days, shouldn't they just run a bunch of Facebook ads to fill the schedule?
You'd think so, but when we look at the go-to-market data, the true growth constraint isn't a lack of top-of-funnel traffic. The leads are often already there.
Really? So what's the actual problem?
The problem is a catastrophic failure in intent capture. It all comes down to understaffed front offices and poor follow-up systems. You are paying good money to generate a lead, and then you're just letting that lead evaporate because your internal air traffic control cannot land the plane.
Wow, so the front desk is the actual bottleneck.
Exactly. Imagine the phone rings, but the receptionist is currently dealing with a super complex insurance question for the patient standing right in front of them.
Right, so the call goes to voicemail.
Yes. And what does the prospective patient do? They don't leave a message. They immediately call the next clinic on Google Maps.
What's fascinating here is how the data quantifies that exact missed opportunity. The sources state the best go-to-market motion is a coordinated system that captures intent and converts it quickly.
Yeah, without wasting any front desk capacity. What's fascinating here is the specific benchmark recommendation from the sources. They say new patients must be scheduled within 48 hours.
Wait, 48 hours, not 12 days.
Not 12 days, 48 hours. In healthcare, patient intent is highly acute. Many people only book when they have an immediate need.
I mean, that makes sense. The toothache does not care about your receptionist's lunch break.
Precisely. If someone is experiencing pain or, they suddenly have a random day off and decide to finally get that chipped tooth looked at, they want immediate resolution.
Right. They want it fixed today.
Yeah. If your earliest opening is next Thursday, they will simply call the clinic down the street that can see them tomorrow.
Wow.
So in a highly constrained, high overhead local market like this, speed is not a customer service nicety. Speed is an aggressive share gain tactic. You literally win market share away from your competitors simply by having the operational capacity to absorb demand the moment it materializes.
This shifts the entire conversation for me. If we acknowledge that operations and speed, that initial 48-hour window are the real battleground, then we really have to look at how patients are actually finding these clinics to begin with.
Yeah, that's the next logical step.
Because if I need a dentist, I'm not looking at a billboard on the highway. I am pulling out my phone and searching dentists near me.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the digital ecosystem, local SEO, and the incredibly high stakes of what we call the trust funnel.
Right, and discovery for this kind of service is overwhelmingly hyperlocal. Google's local search algorithm basically determines who lives and who dies in this space.
And it prioritizes three primary factors, right? Relevance, distance, and prominence.
Yes. Relevance is basic categorization like, are you actually a pediatric dentist? Distance is just geographical reality. But prominence is the differentiator.
And prominence is heavily driven by reviews.
Heavily. It's about the velocity, the volume, and the overall quality of your online reviews. The stats here are staggering. 97% of consumers read reviews for local businesses.
97%. That's almost everyone.
It is. And it doesn't stop at just reading the star rating. 80% of consumers are more likely to choose a business that responds to every single review.
That basically means reviews aren't just a marketing channel. They are the entire foundation of your local digital trust.
Exactly, because the alternative to earning that organic digital trust is buying your way to the top of the search page, and the economics of that are brutal.
I can imagine.
Yeah. To compensate for a lack of organic prominence, dentists average a $7.85 cost per click on paid search.
Almost $8 just to get someone to click a link, with zero guarantee they even stay on the website for more than 2 seconds.
Right. And that low conversion rate is heavily reflected in the final acquisition cost. The actual cost per lead, meaning someone finally fills out a form or calls the desk, is $83.93 on search.
Oh, wow. Over $80 just for a lead. What about social media, like Facebook ads?
Meta lead campaigns run a $9.78 cost per click and a $76.71 cost per lead. But you have to remember, Meta relies on scroll disruption.
Right, catching someone while they're looking at photos of their family or something.
Yeah, which yields much weaker last-click economics compared to a high-intent Google search for, say, emergency root canal.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because there is a massive paradox sitting right in the middle of this data.
Oh, absolutely.
If we know that organic reviews are basically digital gold for Google's algorithm, and we know that buying ads costs $83 just to make the phone ring, the obvious business strategy would be to just aggressively incentivize reviews.
You would think so.
Right. Like, if I'm a practice owner, I'm offering a $50 discount on teeth whitening to any patient who pulls out their phone and leaves a 5-star review before they walk out the door. Or, I'm hiring a third-party agency to intercept and scrub any bad reviews before they hit the internet.
And if you did that, you would be walking straight into a regulatory minefield.
Wait, really? It's illegal?
Highly regulated. The Federal Trade Commission explicitly prohibits paying for 5-star reviews. You cannot offer discounts for positive sentiment or use review gating.
What's review gating?
It's where you send an email asking if a patient was happy, and you only direct them to Google if they click yes. It's heavily penalized. Google will permanently restrict or completely remove your business profile for incentivized review behavior.
Wow, so your digital storefront would just vanish overnight.
Exactly. But it actually goes way deeper than FTC rules because remember, this is healthcare.
Right, so we're dealing with patient privacy.
Yes. This is the part that catches so many practice owners off guard. We mentioned earlier that 80% of consumers want to see a business reply to reviews, right?
Yeah.
Well, The Department of Health and Human Services has literally settled federal cases with dental practices for violating HIPAA simply through their responses to Google and Yelp reviews.
Wait, I really want to break down the mechanism of that. Because on the surface, thanking someone for a nice review just seems like basic customer service.
It does. Let's walk through a scenario. Say a patient named John leaves a glowing review. Dr. Smith is amazing, the staff was so friendly, and my root canal was totally painless.
Okay, a great 5-star review.
Right. Then the front desk manager, trying to boost that engagement metric we talked about, replies publicly, "Thanks so much, John. We always try to make our root canals as painless as possible. See you at your follow-up."
Which sounds incredibly polite and helpful.
And it is also an immediate disclosure of protected health information.
Oh, wow. Because they confirmed the procedure.
Exactly. Even though the patient volunteered the information first, the medical professional just publicly confirmed the identity of the patient, the specific medical procedure performed, and the existence of an ongoing doctor-patient relationship.
That is wild.
You just cannot confirm medical interactions in a public forum without very tight administrative controls.
That shifts the more marketing narrative entirely. You can't just hire a cheap third-party marketing firm to reply to all your Yelp reviews because one wrong sentence could trigger a literal HHS audit.
Precisely. It's incredibly high stakes.
So, assuming a clinic has built a compliant, operationally sound foundation, they can actually answer the phone, they have a 48-hour opening, they are gathering reviews legally, how do they actually deploy a marketing budget?
That's where strategy really comes in.
Because a clinic cutting the ribbon on day one has a completely different set of problems than, like, a 20-year-old specialty surgical center.
Yeah, market segmentation is critical here. The strategy and capital deployment must match the specific operational bottleneck of that practice type.
So what does a new practice do?
A brand new practice has zero community trust and zero awareness. Their entire focus has to be on heavy local SEO execution, immediate and aggressive review generation, and they must guarantee same-week availability.
Right, they have to capture that acute intent. They are the fast, convenient option.
Exactly. But contrast that with an orthodontist or an oral surgeon. Broad community awareness campaigns like putting a billboard on the highway makes very little sense for them.
Because the mechanism of acquisition is entirely different.
Right. A specialty practice relies heavily on professional referrals and case acceptance. Their budget should shift away from broad consumer search and toward general practitioner outreach.
So marketing to other doctors, basically.
Yes. They win by making life incredibly easy for the referring doctors, offering fast consult access for the patients being sent over, and providing frictionless, clear financing pathways, since specialty work carries a much higher price tag.
We really have to talk about the Goliath in the room, though. Because whether you are a new indie practice or an established specialist, you are increasingly competing against these massive centralized corporate entities.
Right. The dental service organizations, or DSOs.
Yeah, it's like a local indie coffee shop trying to compete with Starbucks.
The sources note DSO affiliation is sitting at 16% nationally, but it's over 25% for dentists who are within 10 years of graduating.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the scale advantage of these organizations is truly formidable. You are looking at competitors like Heartland Dental supporting over 1,900 offices.
But 1,900, that's massive.
Aspen Dental has over 1,100. PDS Health is nearing 1,000. Smile Brands has over 600. And North American Dental Group has over 240.
The centralized economics of that scale must be incredible. I mean, they win on centralized analytics and economies of scale. They can negotiate lower supply costs, spread $1 million digital marketing budget across hundreds of zip codes, and unify their entire tech stack.
They absolutely do. So how does a single independent doctor counterposition against a 1,900 location Goliath?
The independent wins by strictly avoiding a scale-based battle. The fastest way for an independent to fail is to claim they can do everything for everyone.
Because they just cannot outspend Aspen Dental on Google Ads.
Exactly. Instead, they must lean heavily into the inherent advantages of being small. Local independent practices can counterposition effectively because local trust converts at a much higher rate when a patient actually knows the founder.
Right. The patient knows they're seeing the owner of the business.
Yes. Not a rotating contractor who happens to be assigned to that clinic on a Tuesday. The independent wins on high-touch patient intimacy, deeper community ties, and highly flexible appointment access that isn't bogged down by corporate routing centers.
Okay, so we've navigated the front desk bottleneck, we've survived the HIPAA compliance trap of online reviews, and we've successfully counterpositioned against the massive DSOs.
Quite a journey.
Yeah, to get new patients in the chair. But the data reveals something completely counterintuitive about revenue growth for established practices. The sources reveal a shocking truth. For established practices, the biggest revenue driver isn't acquisition at all.
No, it's not. It is patient retention.
So what does this all mean? If I'm an established solo doctor, shouldn't my marketing budget be focused on constantly bringing in new blood?
Not at all. If you have an established practice and you are pouring capital into $83 search leads while your existing patient base is slowly trickling out the back door, you are destroying your own margins. In dentistry, retention is the actual growth engine.
Wow, so what does the data actually show on that?
The sources show a 73% average hygiene reappointment rate against a benchmark of over 90%.
Meaning a patient finishes a cleaning and actually books their next 6-month checkup before leaving.
Exactly. And the overall patient retention rate paints a starker picture. The industry average is a 58% retention rate against an 85% benchmark. A leaky practice loses all its compounding acquisition value.
Think about the compounding financial damage of that. You spend nearly $85 to acquire that patient. If they come in once, get a minor procedure, and never return because the front desk is too busy to schedule their follow-up, your lifetime value on that acquisition is just abysmal.
Right. All of your marketing spend is being wasted on replacing churned patients just to stay flat.
So how do you solve that operationally without just, hiring 3 more receptionists, which would obviously destroy your margins even further?
Technology stack consolidation. The quote-unquote sales process in a clinical environment is fundamentally about removing friction.
So using software to fix the leaky bucket.
Yes. By consolidating the tech stack, things like online booking, digital intake forms, and automated CRM reminders practices save massive amounts of time.
Give me a sense of the actual time savings there, because digital intake sounds like a nice buzzword, but how does it change the math of the front desk?
We can look at 2 specific case studies from the data. North American Dental Group, one of those large DSOs we mentioned, saw a 5x increase in new patient appointments by doing one thing: standardizing online booking across 200-plus locations.
5 times, just from online booking.
Yes. They removed the friction of forcing a patient to call during business hours.
Because, if a patient remembers they need a dentist at 10 p.m. on a Sunday, and they have to wait until Monday morning to call, they will likely just forget.
Exactly. The second case study highlights a single practice that saved 5 staff hours per day and reduced processing errors by 90% simply by switching to digital intake forms completed prior to arrival.
5 hours a day just from forms. Let's break that down. A patient walks in, gets handed a paper clipboard, sits down for 15 minutes filling it out.
Yep, we've all been there.
Then they hand it back, and the front desk staff has to squint at illegible handwriting, manually type the medical history into the practice management software, and manually verify the insurance ID.
And if they mistype one single digit on that insurance ID, the claim gets denied. Now, that same staff member has to spend 40 minutes on the phone with an insurance provider trying to claw back the revenue.
What a nightmare.
But by shifting to digital intake, the patient types their own data, the system validates the insurance automatically, and the front desk gets 5 hours of their day back.
And with those 5 hours, they can actually answer the phone to capture the 83 leads, secure the 48-hour emergency bookings, and ensure every single patient leaving the clinic books their 6-month reappointment. It completely closes the loop.
It really does. It transforms the front desk from an administrative bottleneck into an active revenue-generating control tower.
This has been a massive paradigm shift. For you listening right now, whether you are managing a healthcare clinic or trying to scale a local service company, the synthesis of this journey is clear. More marketing is the trap if your operational foundation is cracked.
Absolutely. Pumping expensive traffic into a system that cannot process it is just accelerating your own losses.
Right. From fixing the 48-hour booking window, to understanding the fierce local SEO battleground, to keeping the patients you already have disciplined growth, requires operational harmony, not just ad spend.
To ground all of this in a financial reality, we can look at a final budget benchmark from the report. Across the broader economy, cross-industry marketing budgets average about 7.7% of total revenue.
Which sounds about right for a company selling retail goods or software.
But an established dental practice should aim for 3% to 6% in a steady state. The mandate is to stop obsessing over vanity-led metrics like how many impressions a Facebook ad got, and focus relentlessly on kept visits and first-year gross revenue contribution.
Less capital wasted on noise, more revenue captured through operational excellence. I love that.
But this raises an important question, and it is hidden within the ADA policy guidelines in our dataset.
Okay.
The ADA explicitly outlines protocols for teledentistry, which can be billed under CDT codes D9995 and D9996. The ADA states teledentistry can extend the reach of dental professionals as a support layer for triage and specialist screening.
So executing triage or initial consults via video before the patient ever sets foot in the physical clinic.
Exactly. Now, I want you to ponder something. Connect that capability back to what we discussed about Google's local search algorithm and the absolute constraint of physical distance.
Right. The entire local SEO game is fundamentally restricted by physical distance and geography.
Yeah.
It's based on how many miles the patient is from your front door.
But if your initial consult, your triage, or your specialist screening happens on a screen rather than in a chair, how might teledentistry completely redefine the boundaries of a local practice in the years to come?
Wow.
If you can legally and effectively capture intent through a digital consult, your addressable market is suddenly no longer limited to a 5-mile radius.
That is a phenomenal provocative thought to end on. It completely shatters the ceiling of the local search map. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We really hope you take these operational insights into your own next meeting or strategy session, whether you are figuring out how to unblock your own administrative bottlenecks or simply rethinking what the true boundaries of your local market actually are. We'll see you next time.
If you got value from this, share it with someone building something real. And if you want to stay sharp on go-to-market, follow Neon Primer GTM. We'll be back with more.